Hey everybody, welcome to the Citizen Sports Weekly. I won't do the date like Chris does because who needs a calendar, right? As you can tell, Chris isn't here.
I am not Chris.
That's right. We're joined by Jonathan Moneybags Monfiletto, who has, of course, filled in for, I think, both of us a
I
couple
have.
of times.
Yeah, this is my second time filling in for Chris, and I filled in for you, I guess, back in July.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Sort of like the minor league player getting the call up to the major league.
You're the Mariano Rivera of the Sports Weekly.
I like that.
You're the closer.
The closer.
When you have to go to the righty or the lefty, whichever. But Chris is on vacation, so Chris, I'm sure you're not watching this, so whatever. Have a good vacation. But we'll get into our NFL picks. We'll do that briefly. But, we're going to get into a few other topics today. Wide-ranging Sports Weekly. So I know that Moneybags is eager to get right into it.
And speaking of Mariano Rivera, we're going to talk baseball because, of course, it's getting the end of September. We're getting into October. Even I know that's playoff time.
That is playoff time.
And I was joking with Robert before we started doing this that I'm a New York Mets fan. My dad grew up in Queens. It was just something I inherited. And of course, the Mets get eliminated in spring training every year, so I don't pay as much attention to baseball as I should. But I do have a little cheat sheet. And there seems to be some interesting teams in the playoffs, at least from what I see.
Yeah.
And perhaps a source of local pride is you have the Washington Nationals.
My favorite team.
Now, were you a fan of them when they were the Expos, or is that kind of a...
Well, it's complicated because when I've always just loved DC, and when the team moved there, I certainly was a fan. Ryan Zimmerman's been one of my favorite players for a while, and but it helped when I moved to Auburn because the first, I think it was within a year of me moving to Auburn, they actually switched affiliations. Auburn used to be affiliated with the Toronto Blue Jays organization,
I didn't realize that.
and then got on board with the Washington Nationals, and so that was great. And of course, Syracuse, the AAA team, did the same thing. They're on board with the Nationals too. So it's a great area to be in, to be this kind of like newly grown Nationals fan, and to have two minor league teams in such close proximity. It's great. Not complaining.
Again, excuse me for being, like I said, I don't pay as much attention to baseball as I should. Is this the first time the Nationals are in the playoffs since they became the Nationals, or?
No, they actually won a couple years ago. They won the division and made the playoffs. They had a decent run throughout the season. I think this team is much better though, just because of the depth that they have, not only pitching but certainly in the batting order. Of course, everyone talks about Bryce Harper, but they have so many other tools. Anthony Rendon, who actually played a few games in Auburn back a couple years ago, is one example. Adam LaRoche, and the list goes on. But yeah, I have my fingers crossed. Hopefully, they can do better than they did a couple years ago.
Perhaps the whole city of Auburn does. I mean, like I said, they are associated with the Double Days. So just like when Regan Smith wins a race, everybody cheers. I think everyone's gonna be cheering on the Nationals. It sounds like.
We hope.
And like I said, I put together a little cheat sheet, and joining the Nationals as division winners in the National League are the Dodgers. On the AL side, you have the Orioles and the Angels clinching divisions, and the Tigers clinching a berth, as well as in the National League, the Cardinals and the Pirates. So kind of some neat names up there, some different names it seems like you hear. So.
Yeah. I have a good friend who's a Pirates fan and Pirates season ticket holder even.
Wow.
And he's been a fan for life, and I know that the past couple years, with as good as the team has been, he certainly has been a much happier fan. So it's good to see the Pirates back winning in the NL again.
Gives me hope that someday I'll see the Mets in the playoffs.
That next century is coming a little closer.
They have not won a World Series in my lifetime.
Yeah,
although they were in the Subway Series. So
oh, that's right. You weren't born in '86, right?
I was born in '88. Yeah, that's right. So
that stinks.
Someday, we'll, as the Mets say, you got to believe.
That's right.
All right. You want to talk some NASCAR?
Absolutely.
I know this is the part where Chris will probably zone out if he is going to watch. But we'll make it brief for you, Chris.
Get your pillow and blanket, Chris.
Of course, with the new playoff system, or I don't like calling it a playoff, but the chase for the championship divided into elimination rounds, almost like the NCAA tournament. In fact, Robert and I filled out brackets.
We did. We're doing almost like a bracket challenge for the NASCAR Chase.
It is a real thing. It's not just something I made up. You can go just go on Google and search, NASCAR Chase grid, and you can fill out. Hurry up and make them quick because the third race is coming up.
Yeah.
You start with your 16 drivers, and after every 3 races, 4 drivers will be eliminated. So it's going to go from after 3 races down to 12, after 6 races down to 8, after 9 races you're going to have 4 fighting it out for the championship at Homestead. And so far, those 4 facing elimination after this weekend's race in Dover, in order: Denny Hamlin, Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, and Eric Almirola. I'm not too surprised about 3 of those names. Eric Almirola came in as the underdog.
Right. He won that one race.
He won that short race at Daytona, which was awesome. I love Richard Petty. I love watching the 43 car win. But they're just not a championship caliber team yet, so I was not surprised to see them in the bottom. Maybe in future years they'll build up to that. Kurt Busch, he had the one win at Martinsville, but it just seemed like he just struggled all year long with a new team. Like I said, got into the chase because of that win. Otherwise, probably wouldn't have been. Greg Biffle was, I think, one of about 3 drivers that came in with no wins. Again, someone who's just kind of been kind of mid-pack all year, not really doing anything spectacular.
Just slightly above average.
Not a surprise there, yeah. But Denny Hamlin's a big surprise. But here's where, in past chases where it was all 10 races together, you could have a bad day and still rebound in the next 9 and have a chance. But with these elimination rounds, one bad race and you're out. And that's what happened with Denny Hamlin last week at New Hampshire. I believe he had something mechanical wrong and then got caught up in a wreck. And but of course, with Dover coming up, Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski, the only safe drivers, having a win, and that automatically advances them to the next round. Any of those 4 drivers could win and get in.
That's right.
It should be interesting to watch for sure.
Yeah. Out of the 16 Chase drivers that we have now, obviously Dover will whittle that down to 12. But who sticks out to you, or a couple drivers that stick out to you that at the end at Homestead could end up winning this thing?
Oh, that's a great question. Again, if you're going to go fill out that Chase bracket, do it quick, do it before Sunday. I'm going to tell you that you want Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that final round. Those are the 2 drivers that I have seen that just have been consistent all season long. Jr. had won the Daytona 500. He swept the Pocono races. Gordon's got 3 wins. And besides us each having 3 wins, every other place they've just been so consistent. Jr. even scored, I think, a top 5 on the road courses, which is amazing. So I think you're going to see that. They've been a little bit slower. I think the Penske guys have just dominated the headlines in the first 2 races. Mm-hmm. But, Gordon and Dale Jr. have been there. I think they're going to be there at Homestead. As far as the other 2, I think definitely Brad Keselowski is going to be there. Yeah. I don't know about Joey Logano. That remains to be seen. I think, he's got that 1 win. He's on to the next round. I don't know if he's quite on the level of his teammate yet. And the 4th driver, I'll give it away. I'm giving it to the guys that are on my final round. And the 4th one is Kevin Harvick, again, a guy that
he's been strong.
Been strong all year and seemed to get stronger in the chase. I think he easily could have won those first 2 races. He was definitely in the running. So as far as who actually wins the championship, we'll leave that as a surprise.
Yeah,
can't show all my cards.
Yeah, the Logano sticks out to me as a guy who, he's had his ups and downs this year, but he certainly won. I think. Where's he at? He's got 4 wins this year, I think.
Yeah, I believe the one in New Hampshire gives him 4.
Yeah, so, he certainly has shown an ability to win some races, at any given moment. He's outside of those wins, he certainly has had some good runs, but yeah, that's the thing about the Sprint Cup and, racing in general, is that anything can happen. Look at Hamlin.
Sure.
Now he's fighting for his Chase life, really. He could end up getting in. He needs some help to do that, but he's a great example. Great driver, but the chips haven't just fallen in the right place for him. So
and on the flip side of that, the other underdog in the chase, AJ Allmendinger, is actually, I don't know if I could say solidly, but I'll say it solidly in. He's 10th in points right now.
Yeah.
If he just kind of has a solid day at Dover, doesn't get into trouble, he can move on to the next round, which would be a huge surprise.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's
top 20, I think, would probably keep.
I think so. Which is I kind of looking at the things is kind of where he's been running lately. top 20, top 15, maybe nothing spectacular, but just good enough just to keep them going. So
that works.
it's be interesting to watch for sure.
So what do you want to do now?
Well, I know we kind of talked about this earlier.
This is a
kind of
Monfiletto directed show.
Oh wow! See, I really am making the big leagues now. I mean, you guys better watch out.
Well, you don't get many opportunities. To
I don't.
But got to give you a shot to get in. Whatever you want to say.
I saw in the news. I guess this was yesterday, or maybe this was, I don't know what day this week's just flown by, but I'm sure you saw it too, this thing about Hope Solo, the star goalie of the U.S. women's soccer team facing charges of domestic violence. While that is news, that's not really the news. The news more was that she's still being allowed to play, and is that a double standard when you look at the Ray Rice issue? What's your take on it? I'll ask you first, and then I'll...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, I think in her case, I mean, it is a tough situation because I guess it involves her half-sister and her half-sister's son, both of whom, I believe the son is like 17, if I'm not mistaken. And so it's really a tough situation. I mean, I can see why, people have pointed to that. It certainly has come up in conversation, now that, we have Ray Rice and there's Jonathan Dwyer, running back for the Cardinals.
Of course, Adrian Peterson, too.
And then Adrian Peterson with a child abuse charge. I can see why that certainly comes up, but I think I think all of these cases really are, in different places. I mean, it's, domestic violence is serious, and it should be treated seriously by the NFL and, sports organizations in general, but, they also have to take a good look at each individual case. And, in the Hope Solo case, I don't think we have all the facts there. I certainly think that, on the outside, perceptions being the only thing going off, it does look bad that, she's being allowed to play and all of these other athletes aren't. The standards should be the same across the board. You have to come down tough on it no matter what it is. And but I do think that in her case, there might be more to that story than we know. I mean, I saw it described in one place as an altercation. Well, if that was the case, then, it certainly wasn't one-sided.
Sure.
I think once all the facts come out, maybe we'll learn more. But, in the Ray Rice situation and, Dwyer and Greg Hardy with the Panthers, I mean, these cases... it's different. I mean, you're talking about a husband, a boyfriend, a fiance, whatever, assaulting his partner, his female partner, and that that has no place in society in general. No place in either of our we're both married men. Chris is married. I know he would say the same thing. That has no place in any sort of relationship, let alone being condoned by a professional sports league. And certainly the NFL, I think, has learned that over the past few weeks that they have to come down harder on this, and hopefully going forward there's a strict policy, there's a strict standard that zero tolerance. You do it, you're done. You're suspended indefinitely, and your case is reviewed. You have to show improvement. Not only as a as a person, but as a man, that you're willing to accept this and learn how to treat women in a respectful manner, not hitting them and assaulting them both physically and verbally, and and go from there. And I think that indefinite suspension, like Ray Rice, it has to be a long time. At least a season, if not longer. They have to show that they deserve to come back, and until then, it's really the ball's in their court. They have to show improvement, and if not, the league shouldn't let them back in.
Yeah, I'm seeing kind of an apples to oranges sort of thing going on here, because it is two different sports, two different sanctioning bodies, two different people making the decision of who plays and doesn't play. Right. And like you said, the NFL's kind of had a history of this with players being involved in domestic
Goes
violence.
Back to Jim Brown. Jim Brown had accusations against him.
And so it seems like Ray Rice is almost the straw that broke the camel's back, where, okay, enough is enough, we've got to do something to make an example. Whereas women's soccer, I mean, like you said, maybe this is more, in Hope Solo's case, more of an altercation rather than a one-sided domestic violence thing. But it isn't a widespread issue in soccer, so, I mean, maybe there'll be penalties if she's convicted or anything like that, but for now, I mean, innocent until proven guilty, and she'll continue playing, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing here, too, because the policy should be, across the board, the policy should be strict for those who are, convicted or found to have been guilty of this. Because, if you just have one blanket standard and, someone who's falsely accused gets punished as a result of that, well, that's wrong. That's unfortunate.
Sure.
False accusations do happen, but, it is small in number. I mean, in most cases, and in the cases we've seen, Ray Rice, for example, not only was there, an arrest made and, a claim levied against him, but there was video of it.
Sure.
Which made it, of course, a lot worse in the eyes of those who, maybe have doubted whether this was true or not. Sure. And, then the video, I mean, you can't lie anymore, you can't duck it anymore, it happened. And, but, video aside, I mean, if an accuser comes forward and says, I've been beaten, we should take that seriously.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be like, oh, well, where are the photos? Where are the, like Floyd Mayweather? Well, where's the video? Where's the photos?
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not how this works.
Right.
If there's documented proof, if there's bruising that's viewed by a doctor or whatever, I think that's enough to say, look, this person was abused, and this should be taken seriously. So. Yeah, a long way to go for the NFL. They certainly have to change their ways, but hopefully they get there.
All right. And speaking of the NFL, you want to do some picks?
NFL pick time. This is how we close it out, folks. Going to pick 6 games like we do every week. I can tell you that Chris will be submitting his picks, so while they won't be announced on the video, he will be giving them to me, so I have the proof. So
you have the video.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. So he's got mine on video. He'll have his to me in picture form, so that I know before Sunday's game that he did pick those, and they will count towards our pick 6 standings. So, but this week, of course, Jonathan's joining us. So first up, we've got Chicago versus Green Bay. Packers fan.
Packers fan, and
you picking against him?
I would never ever pick against Green Bay. I wouldn't pick against them if they were playing the Patriots, which they will later this year. You may want to, at home watching, may want to pick Chicago just because if you're going to put money on it, I got to be honest with you, with the way the Packers are looking this year, Chicago's probably a smart choice, but I cannot pick against Green Bay. I'm going with the Packers.
Nice. I'm taking the Packers too. I think this is a divisional game, and while they lost to Detroit last week, I think that Aaron Rodgers raised enough concerns about the offense to, maybe shift some things and start moving things around. So, hopefully they get going this week and beat the Bears.
All right. And we have 49ers versus Eagles. Eagles are going to stay undefeated.
Wow.
Plain and simple.
Wow. Yeah, this game is tough for me. 49ers have lost 2 games now, 2 close games. And I have to agree with you. I think Philadelphia will win this one. They're looking good this year. The Eagles picking up right where they left off. So hard to pick against them against the 49ers. So moving along.
And we have Bills at Texans, I believe. So it's on the road for Buffalo. I'm going with the Bills. I like really the only Buffalo game I've seen was when they played against Chicago the first week of the season. You're a Bills fan, so I'd like to hear your input. But they're looking strong this year, and I think they're going to keep it going against Houston.
Yeah, they are looking good. Last week was a bit of a struggle. I think they had a poor first half against the Chargers, and I don't think they played well for most of the game really. But that first half really killed them. They couldn't move the ball, and defensively, I thought they gave up a little too much real estate to the Chargers. But this game's tough to pick for me. I think I'm going to take the Texans for a couple of reasons. One, Houston's coming off a pretty bad loss against the Giants. I mean, the Giants, just ran all over them. The score doesn't really reflect the actual, disparity there, but the Texans really had that loss, and so they're coming off that. Plus, they're at home. Plus, Ryan Fitzpatrick is their quarterback. We all know that Ryan Fitzpatrick used to play for the Bills. I believe this is his first game against the Bills since he was released. So, it's hard for me to pick against the Texans when he's got a little bit of motivation entering this week. So I'm going to take the Texans in a close one.
And then the next one we have is the Raiders versus the Dolphins. And I thought about kind of going to limb and picking the Raiders, but I did take Chris's seat. I'll be nice. I'll take Miami.
I'm taking Miami too. It's this game, I think, I think the Dolphins, they've had their share of struggles over the last couple weeks. I think this is a good opportunity for them to get back on the right track. So, moving along to Baltimore, Carolina.
This one was tough, but I'm going to go with the Ravens. They just are traditionally the stronger team in this case.
Yeah, Baltimore, after seeing that, what was it, the Monday night game or Sunday night game, Carolina versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh just demolished the Panthers. I think the Ravens, who demolished Pittsburgh earlier this year, I think the Ravens will take this one too against the Panthers. And then last up, Cowboys versus Saints.
Again,
this is a tough one.
Another tough one to pick. I'm going to say Dallas.
Oh, okay. I believe Dallas is at home for this one. I'll take the Cowboys. I think it'll be close, but the Saints have been disappointing this year. I thought they would be much better than what they've shown us in the first few weeks. Of course, they can get back on the right track, and maybe this game will do it. But I think with the situation their defense is in and the struggles on offense, I think Dallas has shown over the last couple of weeks that they can actually play, come back, win against St. Louis, win against Tennessee. I'll take the Saints, or I'll take the Cowboys over the Saints. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
But yeah, that wraps it up. Jonathan, as always, thanks for filling in for Chris.
Just before we go, I just want to give a plug for Super Dirt Week coming up.
Super Dirt Week.
And
are you covering it?
Well, I haven't heard officially on credentials, but I think one way or another I'll be at the track in Wadesport, hopefully in Rolling Wales, and then of course at the fairgrounds for the big one.
Cool.
You talk about baseball in October. For October, it's all about Super Dirt Week for me, and looking forward to covering some stuff for the Citizen.
Great. Well, that's a good plug there, and we'll be back next week with another edition of the Citizen Sports Weekly. Chris will be back to reclaim.
I guess we'll see how many hits this we get. I'm kidding, Chris.
If this is a ratings juggernaut, we might have to get rid of Shira. But Chris will probably be back next week to reclaim his seat, and he'll be with us, of course, for the rest of the NFL season. Got a big slate of games next week, and surely going forward. So he'll rejoin us, and until then, we'll see you then.
See ya.